Good morning, Pilates chums. It is me, Sarah Tag. Slightly earlier than 9:30 on this beautiful morning, but not to worry at all. I am joining you from Tag Towers. We've got a lovely session of gentle Pilates planned. So you'll need a mat. You might need a towel to support your head, just to make sure that we hold that alignment when you're on your front or on your back or even on your side. Apart from that, we're not going to be using any other fancy equipment. I've got a drink with me. I'm feeling totally well, so I hope you're feeling well. If you're unwell, don't do this session today. Just click on the link when you're feeling better. So without much further ado, we're going to warm up standing and then we're going to bring ourselves down onto the mat. So if you'd like to just think about taking these feet just about hip width apart, nice and relaxed. And today we're going to really focus on relaxation and flow. So the breathing is going to be central to that. So before we do anything else, just stand within yourself, see if you can lengthen through that spine without trying too hard. It's this relaxed, long spine, this long neck on top of the body, and we're looking out onto the horizon. Just let those shoulders soften. Just let them fall away from your ears. And we're going to think about your breathing. So we're going to breathe in through your nose. And then we're going to push that breath out through your mouth. It's like a soft H sound. So we're breathing in and we're breathing out. So you're going to find the rhythm of your breathing. And as you breathe out, we're going to think about your shoulders. Think about softening those shoulders. Think about opening out that chest. Think about sliding your shoulder blades down the back towards your bottom. And then on the next breath in, we're going to see if we can just gently squeeze those shoulders up, create some tension, and slowly lower them in time with that breath out. So there's that breath in, and there's that breath out. And then this time we're going to relax those arms, just let them hang there. As we breathe in, we're going to think about breathing sideways into the ribs. So think about filling your ribs sideways. And again, just push that breath out. And we're going to breathe into the back of your ribs. And then we're going to just breathe, stand. Think about the position of this pelvis. So remember our bucket of water. So when the water is flat, our pelvis, our lower back is in neutral. But if we tip water out of the back of the bucket, the back flattens. And if we tip water out of the front of the bucket, okay, that back arches. So we want to avoid that arching back when we're testing our abdominal strength. And then we're going to walk the feet just a little bit wider. And we're going to start with a little spine swing. So you'll notice my opposite heel comes away from the floor. I'm just letting these hips rotate, letting these arms go. Just need to be a little bit careful about what's around you when we're doing this. Just let it go. And then we're just going to bring these arms to a standstill. Bring those feet to a 12 o'clock position, hip width apart. We're just going to see if we can warm the shoulders up a little bit. Good. So each circle, easy, not pushing into pain, just gradually increasing the range to your range. That's good. And then just bring these arms down. Good. You might want to shake those feet out a little bit. Give it a little shake. Give those arms a shake. Just shake out any tension that might be there. And then we're going to come back. So we're going to think about those soft shoulders, chest open and lifted. neutral spine, looking out onto the horizon. We're going to think about centering these core muscles, and they're going to be the ones that just keep that trunk stable as we test this core strength with your arm and leg movement. So we're going to gently, gently draw those lower abdominals in as if we were doing up that tight pair of trousers. So it's that area from the belly button down to the pubic bone. Almost imagine drawing those hip bones together. So we're going to go 100%, tighten to your maximum. How do we feel? Can we hold it? Oh, I don't think so. And release. So what we're going to do now, we're going to breathe in to prepare. And as we breathe out, we're just going to go to about a third of our maximum. So remember our belt notch 3. So we can relax into that centering. We can hold it there. And I'll keep reminding you. So we're going to start with that side bend. So we're going to warm up this lower back. So think about breathing in as we come to center, as we prepare. And as we breathe out, lifting that rib cage away from the hips. So we're really listening to that breathing, allowing that breathing to dictate our flow. So you don't have to move in time with me. You can just listen to yourself. So once you've seen what I'm doing, trust yourself to do the right movements, all in time with your own rhythms, with your own breathing patterns. And if you end up moving away from center on the breath in and back in on the breath out, don't worry about it. The main thing is that we're moving, not letting this back arch, not letting the core muscles just, okay. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take these fingertips together. Let's roll these shoulders up and back. Good. So let's take a breath in. And as you roll those shoulders down, just slide those shoulder blades down the back, tuck them into the back pocket of those trousers. And then we're going to tighten that belt, just reminding you to tighten it to notch 3. And we're going to take our spine twist. So we're imagining that we've buried in sand. So there's no movement from the top of your belt or the top of your waistband down. The only movement is from that waist upwards. So it's not a huge amount of movement. We're breathing out, moving away from center. Keep gently drawing that belt-like muscle or group of muscles in. And then we're going to come back to center. We're going to see if we can just lift the heels gently off the floor. It doesn't have to be all the way and down. So we're going to breathe in. We're going to breathe out. Centering those core muscles. Breathing out. I'm going to take one more. Looking out onto the horizon, slowly lowering those heels, finding that neutral spine, and then arm floats. So just going nice and easy. So particularly if there's any soreness in the shoulder or the arm, we're leading with those thumbs, centering, so tightening that muscle, notch 3, and breathing out as this arm comes up. Try and slide that shoulder blade down the back as the arm raises, and then we're going to change sides. So let's remember this floating, this flow. Think about that breathing. So instead of being very mechanical, we're going to see if we can allow this thumb to lead, this arm to flow. It's almost like a circle, so there's no beginning, no end. So as soon as we reach that point of tension, we're coming back to that start position. And as soon as we reach that start position, coming back into that movement. Good. Now we're going to see if we can open out that chest. Breathing in, breathing out. Maybe little softness to those elbows, feeling that lovely stretch across the chest. Breathing in, breathing out. We're going to take one more. Circle these arms down, and then we're going to see if we can just gently bend through those knees. So I'm going to show you from a different angle so you can see where we're going. Remember those feet hip width apart, just softening those knees, hinging at the hips, heels glued to the floor, just warming up those leg muscles. And then when we get to this position, we're going to see if we can just take those hands onto the thighs, gently look at the floor in front of your toes, stick that imaginary tail straight out behind you. We're going to tilt this pelvis, gently look towards the knees, and then release, lengthen. So we're going to breathe out to standing cat stretch and in. Good. We're breathing out and in. And then we're going to breathe out. Now just let these arms relax, let this head relax, become floppy. So keeping that tail and that pelvic tilt in place, we're going to roll up through this spine. One little segment at a time. Slide those shoulders into place. Lift that chin. So we're going to now practice that roll up movement from this position. So with the legs bent, particularly if you've got any issues with that spine, we're just going to see if we can first of all drop that chin to the chest. And then we're going to lift that head, look straight ahead. Now be aware of these shoulders. So relax the shoulders. Tighten that belt. Remember notch 3, we're looking straight ahead. Now if we have any bone density issues, we're going to do about a quarter of this full movement. We're not going to go any further than that. So we're just going to drop this chin to the chest, lift this chest over this imaginary beach ball at our feet. Now, if we've got bone density issues, we're going to stop there, and then we're just going to roll all the way back up. So those of you without any issues, I'm going to show the full movement. Good. So we're tightening that belt, lifting this rib cage over our imaginary beach ball. Knees bent if you're in any doubt about this back. The arms are floppy, the head is weightless, and only as far as you feel comfortable. Now tighten that belt, breathe in, push those feet down into the floor, stack each little segment of the spine one at a time. So with each movement, we're looking for flow. We're looking for that breathing to lead you. And you might find that as the muscles warm up, we get a little bit more of that move each time we do it. Let's remember, center, shoulders relaxed, neutral spine. Breathe in to prepare. Breathe out. Allow that breathing to control the movement. Breathe in at the bottom, tighten that belt, and stack that spine one little segment at a time. Now I'm going to get you to actually bring yourself down onto your mat while I move the camera. We can use this roll down, or we can come onto the mat however we feel comfortable. So you may want to drop one knee, take the knee down, one hand, or we may feel comfortable taking that roll down and either at the bottom of this move, bending the knees, walking these hands out, or actually walking yourself out into a plank position. We're going to do that today. So I'm going to move the camera. That's sophisticated way of doing it. And let's see what we can come up with, shall we? So I'm going to use my roll down. It's taken months. We're finally getting the hamstrings back. Trampoline injuries, beach injuries. Okay, so let's think about this kneeling position. We're going to make sure those hands are underneath the shoulders. So beware of that. Bring that palm directly underneath the shoulders. Hands are shoulder width apart. Knees are shoulder width apart and directly under those hips. Now we're going to think about this neutral spine. So remember that bucket of water movement. Just play around with that hip movement here. Just play around with that hip movement. Make the movement smaller and smaller till you arrive at that midpoint where your spine's in neutral. There's a slight curve. And I sometimes talk about this like your tail is sticking straight out behind you. So you're a dog that's tail is straight out. Now, when you're a sad dog, tail comes between your knees. When you're a happy dog, sticks straight up in the air. So find that sticking straight out behind you. And we're just going to hold that position and we're going to draw that tummy button in. So it's our belt notch 3. So we sometimes talk about the campfire, burning your belly button. We've lit it right here. So just see if you can gently draw it away from the flame. And then we're going to drop that chin to the chest, tilt that pelvis. So push that tail between your legs, sad dog, into that full cat stretch. Breathe out. Breathe in. Draw those shoulders away from the ears. We're going to do 4 of these. Now, as you come back to that start position, draw the shoulders away from the ears, those shoulder blades down the back. Imagine you're looking at an invisible line at the top of those fingertips. And then when we've come into our last one, we're going to keep that tail just tucked between the legs. We're going to bring ourselves back onto those heels into child's pose, but I'm going to bring these elbows behind my knees. And we're going to breathe in, breathe out. And then when you feel ready, we're going to walk ourselves into our prone position. So this is where I've got my towel. I'm going to pop it underneath my forehead because we want that length in the back of the neck. If we haven't got the towel and we're sort of like this, it's not a comfortable position. And we're training those neck muscles in a sort of unaligned fashion. So here's my towel. Now I'm just going to take my arms into a W position just by the side of me. I'm going to draw my tummy button away from the mat. So tighten that belt. And I'm ever gently going to lift this chest away from the mat. So we're working these lower back muscles. So we need to engage the glutes. So engage those bottom muscles, tighten. And then we're going to really make sure we don't let that tummy button dome into the mat. So we're just gently lifting, shoulders relaxed. And breath out as we lift, breath into return. So this time, that campfire has made the mat really, really hot. So you're still drawing that tummy button away from the mat. Shoulders are relaxed. We're just getting some movement in that lower back. We're not overdoing it. Good. Just these hands are supporting us. Breathing out. Good. And breathing in. So we're going to do one more of these. And then we're going to come all the way back down. Now we're going to see if we can bring these arms to your side, palms facing the ceiling. Now try not to let those shoulders roll forward. So what we're going to do with our start position, we're going to just open out that chest, slide those shoulder blades down the back towards the bottom. Now all we're going to do is rotate these shoulders, reach for the ankles on the outside of your feet and release. So we're squeezing those shoulder blades together, opening out that chest. Palms go from facing the ceiling to facing your thighs. Good. So breathing into return, breathing out as we rotate and squeeze. Good. Breathing in breathing out. So we're really working the backs of the shoulders. Now engage your glutes, engage your bottom muscles. And as we rotate, like we did before, we're going to lift that chest at the same time. So that nose goes from touching the mat. It's just being lifted. Now we're not lifting that chin. We're looking straight down all the time. Breathing out. Breathing in. Good. So really squeezing those shoulders together. Good. Or the backs of the shoulders together. Drawing that tummy button in. Reaching down to the outside of your knees. And we're going to take 2 more, lifting this chest. So we're going to get really nice, strong back muscles from this movement. Good. Not overlifting, not overreaching. Thinking about that flow. And then we're going to bring one hand and the other, chest level. Let's push ourselves up into child's pose. This time we're just going to leave those hands there, stretch out those shoulders. Oh, they've been working, haven't they? But it's a nice sort of working. It's a really nice sort of working. Good. Okay. And then we're just going to see if we can walk ourselves and bring ourselves onto our sides. So we're going to do some sideways movements now. So we want these hips stacked. It's up to you what you do with your towel. I do like to just use my arm here, but you can put that towel for a little bit of extra support. Just have a little check. Make sure the heels aren't behind you and that you can't see sort of the middle of your thigh or the bottom, the top bottom cheek. If you are, you're not quite stacked on top of each other. Now, what we're going to do is think about drawing this tummy button away from the mat. Now, if you can balance with that hand here, slide that shoulder away from the ear, slide that shoulder blade down, but you may need that hand there for support. And the further the hand away is from you, the more support it's going to give you. Okay, so we're going to start with some leg lifts, side leg lifts. So remember that flow. Tighten that belt, breathe in, and we're just going to breathe out. So we're keeping that knee facing forwards, okay? And all that's moving is this leg. So we're coming up and down. Now, if you're comfortable with that, if we leave this top leg at hip level, let's see if we can float this lower leg. So we're really having to engage here, draw that waist away from the floor, keep drawing in, maybe notch forward this one, and we're going to breathe out, breathe in. So you might need that hand, you might not. So keep that chin. Remember that little orange I sometimes put between your chin and your chest? Keep that there. We're looking straight ahead. And we're thinking about flow. Breath out. Breath in. Breath out. Breath in. So you can feel the muscles we're working. But we're also really working those core muscles in your trunk. They're working furiously hard to stabilize you. Now, if you can, we're going to leave this leg just slightly higher than hip level. We're going to squeeze the lower leg up to meet it and control and flow. So squeeze and flow. Good. Squeeze. And again, keep drawing that tummy button in. Breathing out. Breathing in. There's flow. So we're not just letting that leg fall down. Squeeze and release. We're going to take one more and release. Now those legs are floating. Now if you can, we're going to take almost like a scissors movement. So that lower leg is coming forward and we're moving from the hip, not from the knee. The top leg going backwards ever so slightly, then coming back to that start position and switch. Good. So keep drawing that tummy button in. You might need to keep the range quite small. You might find, whoa, I had a little wobble there, that you can increase that range. So we're just going to do 2 more switches. Bring those legs together. Whew. So you can feel those muscles there, can't you? So take that 90-degree angle at the knee. What we'll do now is we'll just push the heel away from center. You can even reach over, and we're just getting a little bit of stretch down here. We'll stretch it out again a little bit more in a moment. Lovely. Now, my favorite, as you all know, I'm going to take my towel underneath my head here, palms facing each other, shoulders relaxed away from the ears, and we're going to come into that open door. So we're just following that hand, breathing out, breathing in. Good. Now notice these hips. So imagine we sort of lock the hips down, and the only movement, like in that warm-up for the spine twist, is from here upwards. So draw that tummy button in. You're almost pushing this top half or top hip gently forwards as you open. And again, breathing out, breathing in, breathing out. And then as we come, we're just going to relax the knees, gently bring yourself onto your back. So this time you may need this towel underneath the back of your head. My ponytail seems to do the work for me these days. Now let's really think. We're going to bend these knees and just start thinking about the shoulders. So relax the shoulder blades, relax the arms down by your side. Then we're going to think about this lower back. So are we in neutral spine? So take that little pelvic tilt, make those movements smaller and smaller till you arrive at that midpoint. And then we're going to tighten this belt. We're going to check those feet, hip width apart, big toe at 12 o'clock. And then we're going to see if we can take that pelvic tilt again. So push that tail towards your knees. And we're going to see if we can just gently peel the spine away from the mat into that semi-bridge. So we're breathing out. Good. Breathing in. Breathing out. Breathing in. So, excuse that. I was being interrupted. Peeling the spine away from the mat. Now we're going to breathe in at the top. So keep squeezing these bottom muscles. Just be aware of that. So your back arch as you push into the ribs. So create that connection between the pelvis and the ribs. Hold it there. Make sure those knees aren't pushing in, pushing out, that they're directly pointing up towards the ceiling. We're going to squeeze here. Now we're just going to see if we can take one arm overhead, bring it back. Good. And the other. And then we're going to come all the way down. So keep that core, those core muscles active. And we're just going to bring one knee and the other knee into the chest. So we're just going to stretch out this lower back. Good. Now, if you just got cramp in the back of your thigh like I did, possibly because your hamstrings are working harder than your glutes, you can bring the heels a bit closer to the body, and we're going to do the same again. So we're going to see if we can bring ourselves into bridge position, really squeeze here. Now, float those arms up to the ceiling. Keep those nice relaxed shoulders. We're going to take that scissors switch. We're going to breathe in. We're going to breathe out. We're going to breathe in. We're going to breathe out. So there's that flow, that grace. As soon as you reach the top of the move, coming back to the start. Now, just because I'm sort of holding it for a few, you can do a few less. You can do a few more. When you feel the technique starting to go, just bring those arms back down by your side and then gradually press each little segment of the spine down into the mat. And then we're going to bring one knee and the other knee into your chest again. Good. Okay, so we're just going to push one leg away from center. Just get a nice little stretch of the hip flexors of the straight leg. We're drawing this knee towards the same shoulder, and then we're going to just keep the shoulder blades connected with the floor. Draw that knee to the opposite shoulder. Good. And then we're going to release back to the same shoulder. Bring this knee in. And we're going to do the same on the other side. So we're just gently, gently pushing that leg away from center. Really nice with these hip flexors. Drawing that knee to the same shoulder. And then without sort of rolling these hips off the floor as much as possible. I tend to think about keeping the shoulder blades in contact with the mat and really getting this stretch across the outside of the hip rather than trying to get the knee actually to the shoulder. Good. Okay, bring it in. Now, we're just going to see if we can bring those both knees down, walk the feet together, relax those arms into that arrow shape, and we're going to come into our hip rolls. So again, this flow. Breathe into the center. Breathe out as those knees gently fall away from center. So again, shoulder blades melting into the mat. Shoulders relaxed away from the ears. Belt-like muscles, sort of really owning this movement, just allowing those knees to move, not letting them fall, just really controlling the flow. And of course, that breathing is the master. Moving in time with your own breathing. And then we're going to bring it back up to center. Let's just walk these feet back to hip width apart. Bring those arms by your side. We're going to see if we can find our neutral spine again, so that natural curve. And we're going to test these core muscles a little bit. So see if we can breathe in, and we're going to see if we can bring one knee into that tabletop position. So the knee is over the hip. That shin is parallel to the floor, shoulders relaxed. At this point, we sort of get really tense, but tension now needs to be here. This is where we're going to control this movement. Now, all we're going to do is lower that leg back to that start position and in. We want to make it more challenging. We're going to bring two legs into tabletop. Good. Okay, so have we got that neutral spine? We're going to start with toe dips, alternate legs. So from here, holding that 90-degree angle at the knee, we're going to dip and bring up. Now at that point, this back wants to do this away from the floor. So as you lower your toe, as you lower that knee away from you, so your job here is to maintain that neutral spine. If in doubt, lower back closer to the mat. So we're going to breathe out. This is the hardest part. Breathe in. Good. So if you're finding it too challenging, reduce the movement, okay? Don't go all the way, just as far as you can control it. Shoulders relaxed, shoulder blades relaxed. Looking straight up towards the ceiling. Finding that flow. We're breathing out, breathing in. Breathing out. So you may find as you take this knee away from center, you might have to tighten that belt a little bit more than notch 3. It might end up being 4 or 5. We're going to do a couple more on each leg. Now, if you feel that hip starting to click, okay, just reduce the movement. Don't let that hip click. And then bring those knees in. Okay, let's roll like a ball. So imagine that lower back's a little bit like a football or a beach ball, and we're just rolling it back and forwards. Good. And then when we've done a few of those, we're going to take one leg down and the other. Just walk those feet together. Allow those knees to fall towards me. We're going to come onto our side and we're going to push ourselves up to a seated position. Oh, that's nice, isn't it? To a seated position, then we'll take those feet hip width apart and we're going to lengthen out those legs. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to sit in this position so you can actually see what I'm doing. So all we're going to do is sit nice and tall, draw in that belt-like muscle. So notch 3, notch 2, slide those shoulder blades down the back towards the bottom. And then we're going to imagine we've got a nice big ball in our hands. We're just going to place the ball on our thighs, lift the chest over those balls. And then breathe in as we roll back up through the spine. I'm going to get you to take a nice little shoulder roll at the end of each movement. So we're just lifting, breathing out, breathing in. Really relax those shoulders. Breathe in to prepare. Breathing out. Breathing in. And then just relax those shoulders down. Good. So that was our spine stretch. So a nice little stretch for that back. So from here now, we're going to take our feet in the opposite direction. We're going to do some of those sideways moves. So we have the side leg lifts, the lower leg lift, and the scissors movement. So again, find that comfortable position. Make sure those hips are stacked. Good stuff. So there's usually one side that's a bit more balanced than the other. I suspect my other side is, but we'll see now. So I'm going to start with that leg lift. So I'm drawing my tummy button in. My hips are stacked, shoulders relaxed. We're breathing out, breathing in, and there's that flow. So if you feel comfortable, we're going to float this lower leg. And again, so that knee facing forwards, we're not rotating at the hip. Good. So we're working those gluteals, obliques, core muscles. Relax that shoulder. Hold that strong trunk. Good. Find that flow. Relax the face. It's amazing how much tension we can hold in our face. Now we're going to take one more and then just bring this leg down ever so slightly higher than hip width apart, and then really draw the tummy button in for this one because it wants to dome on this one. It wants to push out to support this movement. So we're just squeezing that inner thigh up and down. Good. Keep that nice relaxation in the shoulders. Let those core muscles do their work. Don't let the shoulders take over. Good. Yeah, my other side is definitely stronger. And then we're going to hold that floating position. When you feel ready, just draw that tummy button in. And it's as if we're moving from the hips, so it's not from the knees. Keep that move smaller if you need to. And squeezing through the glutes. So the glutes are doing that movement as we come backwards. Hip flexors as we come forwards. And then we're going to come back to center. Lower one leg and the other leg. Just bend those knees. Give that muscle a little rub if you need to. Just push that heel away from center. Just stretch out there. We might feel comfortable taking a little stretch overhead and then bringing it back. And then our open door exercise. So with those palms facing each other. Ooh.
we're just going to open. I'm just going to do one of these. I had my jab in my arm and it's not very comfortable to lie like that. So I'm just going to do that. You carry on. We're going to do 5 or 6 of them. That's good. And then again, when you feel ready, we're just going to open out that knee. Bring yourself onto that back. Bring yourself onto that back. And you may feel comfortable bringing those knees in. Just lifting that chest and just taking that little rolling like a ball movement again. We're never going further than these shoulder blades, okay? So you really got to push that tail between your knees, little orange between your chin and your chest, rolling through that spine. So when you feel ready, my friends, we're going to see if we can take our single leg stretch. So I'm going to use my arm movement here. So we're going to be using those arm floats. So either leading with the thumb or leading with the back of the hand, whichever suits you better. And we're going to find that neutral spine. We're going to come into tabletop. So I'm going to tighten my belt, breathe in, bringing one knee into tabletop, breathing out. Now make sure you can maintain this position without tension. Otherwise, you may need to bring the knees a little bit closer and it'll just make it slightly less challenging. So we're going to see if we can take single leg stretch. We're going to push one foot away from center as we breathe out, breathe in, bringing that one. Now, the lower that leg goes, the more challenging it's going to be. So we can take it a little bit higher as we develop our technique and our strength. So it wants to be challenging without making you tense, okay, without losing technique, without that back arching away from the floor. Now, if you feel comfortable up in the challenge, we're going to take opposite hand, opposite leg. Breathing out, then moving away from center, breathing in, coming back to this start position, okay? So away from center, and then we're going to look for that flow. No beginning, no end. No beginning. Keep drawing that tummy button in, relaxing those shoulders. Just do as many as you feel as a challenge without losing technique, and then come back into that knees into the chest position, or any position you feel will relax you. So I'm going to do 2 more, breathing out, breathing in, breathing out. And then I'm going to bring these knees in, hug them in. Ooh. Okay. So we're going to take one foot down, then the other. And we're going to see if we can bring one knee towards the chest. We're going to flex that foot, take the ankle bone across the thigh, and just let that knee fall away from center. So we're going to do a stretch for the piriformis. So all we're going to do is see if we can lift this knee away from the floor. Now, I know some of you, this doesn't work for you. So just relax there for a moment. We're just going to pull this thigh in, this knee falling away. Now, I like to sort of take my elbow and gently push that knee away from center. Good. Breathe out into this stretch, my friends. And we're going to release. And we're going to do the same on the other side. Good. So flexing that foot, lifting that knee. Good. And I'm just gently pushing that away from center. You can play around with this foot. Just notice as you pull the toes towards you or away from you. Makes a real difference to what's going on here. Just makes you realize how important your foot stance is when we're standing up. And then release. Good. Whew. So we're going to see if we can bring ourselves up to a seated position. So how we come up to that position is up to you. I'm going to bring my knees this side. I'm going to push myself up, and then I'm going to see if I can bring myself back so you can see my legs into a straddle position. So remember, we can sit on our towel if we sort of feel collapsed. Sometimes it's because we're quite sort of tight here. So you can sit on your towel or roll your mat up a little bit to give yourself a bit more height. And then we've got that really nice, strong trunk. Good, long spine. So we're just going to draw up through that pelvic floor, tighten that belt, notch 3. And then we're going to see if we can take that prayer position like we did earlier. Just roll those shoulders up and back. We're going to see if we can take that gentle twist one way, come back to center, breathing out, breathing in. Now, I'm going to see if I can take my beach ball, and I'm going to do exactly the same. And if you feel comfortable, we're going to open out this chest. Okay, open out those arms, slide those shoulder blades, and we're almost pulling on that back arm, coming back to center, relaxing those shoulders, breathing out, breathing in. Good. Breathing out, breathing in. Good. Breathing out and in. And then we're just going to bring those hands down. We're going to take a bent knee position, sitting nice and tall, and then we're going to draw that tummy button in. We're going to take our mermaid stretch, so just softening that elbow as we come down, breathing out, breathing in. So long back, chest lifted, belt active. Think about that breath in, that breath out. Breath in, breath out. And then we're going to walk those feet back in. So I'm going to push my feet this way and come over onto my back. I'm going to make that W position with the arms. So there's some space between the elbow and the armpit. And I'm going to relax. Right, that cushion to make sure that head is lengthened. We're going to squeeze. Excuse the dog barking. It's that time in the morning where it's all going on. Okay, draw that tummy button away from the mat. We're going to squeeze these forearms away and slowly lower. Now this time we're going to relax these bottom muscles, tighten up here, long back, tail sticking straight towards the heels. We're going to squeeze and we're going to release. Good. We're going to squeeze and we're going to release. Now if you want to add a challenge, we can add that tiny chest lift without using those buttocks, and just enough to slide a pea underneath your nose, and again breathing out and in, breathing out and in. We're going to take one more. Keep that little orange between the chin and the chest. And then we're going to come down. Allow that head to come down. And then into child's pose. Feel that lovely stretch through the shoulders. And then slide those elbows behind the knees. Good. Now, we're going to bring ourselves up. We're going to see if we can stretch out these hip flexors. So from our kneeling position, we're going to see if we can bring our hands sort of just slightly closer together. And we're going to see if we can bring one knee slide this foot forward. So I'm going to show you with this leg actually because it's easier. So I've got this hand over a tiny bit to make room for my knee. I'm going to slide this knee forwards. So you can see it's in front of my knee. Now, all I'm going to do is bring that knee over, and I can bring this hand either side. So my chest is resting on the knee. Now, the hip flexor of the back leg is being stretched. So I'm looking towards this toe, pushing my tail just down towards the mat. Now, all I'm going to do, if I need to increase this stretch, I'm going to lift this chest. I can take those hands onto that knee. Now, if we want to increase further, we're just going to hold onto that beach ball, relax the shoulders, gently take that beach ball towards that bent leg. And then we're going to bring it back. Slowly lower that chest. Bring those knees in. We'll do the same on the other side. So again, you can take that hand here. Just let that knee come over. I've gone a little bit too far. So this is where we're stretching. Good. So this may be enough for many of you. Or keeping that strong trunk, we can lift. Bring that beach ball in. Breathe out. And these muscles get really tight, particularly if we do a lot of driving, sitting down. And again, let's come back into that child's pose. So we're going to slide these hands backwards. We're going to tuck the toes under, and we're going to see if we can just, now either with those hands here, you may need to take those knuckles there if the wrists are a little bit sore. We're just going to push that bottom to the ceiling, come back down. Good. We're going to push up and down. I'm off the mat a bit. Okay, I'm going to push up, looking towards my knees, and one more time. I'm going to push up, walk those hands towards my feet. Now you can bend your knees if you need to. We're going to tighten that belt, arms floppy, head relaxed. We're going to roll up through that spine, one segment at a time, and then I'll come and bring you back for our standing cool down. Samtag, you have disgraced yourself by barking throughout this session. Okay, so we're going to stand nice and tall. We're going to see if we can take a breath in. We're going to breathe out. We're going to breathe in and breathe out. One more breath in. We're going to hold onto those hands, draw that tummy button in, gently lift that rib cage. Breathe out, breathe in, and breathe out. Take a roll of those shoulders, shake out those arms, shake out those legs, and thank you for joining me for a session of Pilates this morning. I hope you enjoy, and I look forward to seeing you at the next session. Goodbye.